states to reside on the island, and I cannot vote for things that are mandated by Congress. And the U.S. Constitution said that all territories of the United States are property of Congress, property of the United States. So that means that every legislation, every decision that can affect the people of Puerto Rico, I can have a say, but not a vote. But having said that, the people of Puerto Rico are proud to be American citizens, are proud to be a part of this great nation. I believe that more than 296,000 Puerto Ricans have fought in every war, since 1901. So we've been there fighting for our liberty and freedom and, of course, our way of life. And I hope that in the near future, Congress can vote and allow Puerto Rico to become the 51st state of the nation.
And I had the opportunity, the privilege to serve in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard for 14 years, and some of the best friends I made in the military were from the Puerto Rico Army National Guard. So, Resident Commissioner, you spoke a little bit about some of the challenges in Congress, but we cannot be on the island and talking about agriculture without addressing hurricanes. And in 2017, you had Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria. Significant devastation. And just a few months ago, you had Hurricane Fiona pass through, once again made a tremendous negative impact on the entire island, but also the agricultural sector. Can you talk about some of the challenges you and your constituents face when it comes to relief, when it comes to weather-related disasters?
Definitely. As we live in tropical areas, and most recently, we always get affected by hurricanes. I mean, we are in the path of hurricanes. That's normal for us. Thank God we don't have volcanoes. Thank God we don't have tornadoes. But we do have tsunamis. They're not affected us. The last one, the big one, last one was in the 1900s. But we do get affected by hurricanes every time, and if it's raining, for more than 4 or 5 days, then we got flooding in many areas. So that's not different from many of the states. So when you have an island that imports 90% of what we consume, that means that everything that affects our local production is mostly specialty crops, which are tropical crops. We're talking about mangoes, bananas, plantains, coffee, which is one of our biggest productions on the island. Of course, we got citrus and many others. But when a hurricane hit the island, our crops are decimated. That happened in 2017 with Hurricane Irma and Maria, where we lost our complete crops of coffee crops and the coffee plantations. And of course, we lost all the citrus, we lost dairy industry were affected directly. What we did was bring in members of Congress. We brought in the next 6 months of the hurricane, more than 120 members of Congress, cabinet members, president, Secretary of Agriculture at that time. And we were asking, because, and I need to acknowledge here, Mr. Hector Cordero, which is Farm Bureau Puerto Rico Director. Our office worked with him directly in every issue regarding agriculture. So every time there's something happening, I call them, tell me what are the needs, tell me what are the problems our farmers are facing. And one of the biggest issues is getting included their specialty crops every time there's a bill of Congress. And we need to write a letter. Sometimes we get them included, sometimes not. So I will say the biggest challenge is getting access to those resources, included in the list, the special crops. They should be included there automatically. We should not be needed to ask. And the second thing is, I think we need more employees at the federal agencies on the island whenever we have this kind of situation. But thank God it was because of USDA and the federal agencies that our farmers got more than $23 million in assistance for one of the hurricanes. And again, Then we got hit last year by Hurricane Fiona. We lost our crops of bananas, we lost our crops of plantains, many of the mangoes as well. We lost 90% of those. And even when Hurricane Irma Maria was strong winds, with Hurricane Fiona, it was not much about the wind, but more about the water and flooding. So it got the same effect in terms of our agriculture. Our farmers got impacted, and not just. Remember, it's not just the farm, it's the tools, it's equipment, it's everything related to our farmers to get things done. So it's maintaining that kind of work in how we can access the resources once they're approved. Recently, we approved in Congress help for farmers that were impacted by natural disasters in 2022. That was signed recently, a week ago. So we are still waiting from USDA and the federal agencies to manage rules and the procedures to make that money available for that.
And that was $3.7 billion. That was part of the omnibus package passed by Congress right before the holidays. And it's authorizing 2022 disasters for the 2021 program of ERP, the Emergency Relief Program.
If you ask how much was the impact, local Secretary of Agriculture estimated $160 million damages with the last year.
And that is significant, especially when you're talking about the size and scale of a Puerto Rican farm. So I had the opportunity this summer to visit Puerto Rico, and Hector Cordero brought me all across the islands and gave me tours of some beautiful farmland. And as the resident commissioner indicated, Puerto Rico is a specialty crop production state. And when everybody in the audience goes to the airport later on in a few days, you will pass through a USDA inspection port. So let's talk about the role of USDA as well as when it comes to plant protection and disease research, because that is a significant concern for you and your constituents.
Definitely. And if some of you have traveled to Hawaii, you will experience the same thing. Your luggage is going to be checked to see if you're getting something from the island, as well as when you arrive. One of the biggest issues for us is, the Natural Resources Conservation Program, and of course USDA and FSA are our main partners dealing with everything regarding agriculture on the island, and we're proud of that. With the hurricanes that we got hit in 2017 and now in 2022, and of course we never discussed the pandemic really, which was another big issue for Puerto Rico. We were part of the WIP program, the Wildfires and Hurricanes program, and that allowed us to receive more than $23 million in payments to our farmers. One of the biggest issues is research, right? How you control pests and diseases to plants on the island. And that's the reason we need to have those federal agencies and regulators in the island, not just to inform us of people bringing some part of these diseases, but actually doing research and to instruct and educate our farmers on how to protect our crops and how to use best practices in terms of our crops as well. So I believe that one of the biggest issues is the lack of awareness. You're part of a tropical island. Some people, there's a lot of traveling between Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. So if you travel to Dominican Republic, which is going to be a half an hour flight, many people used to bring back food from Dominican Republic. And that's the reason you need to have federal agencies in the airport doing that kind of screening, there's the port disease, the cow disease, and many others that are protected to enter in United States territory, because from here to the United States is just a direct flight. You don't need a passport to travel from Puerto Rico to every part of the United States. But if you are at neighbor islands that are not part of the United States, having their own crops or their plants with diseases, and they bring them here, that can put in danger the whole agricultural sector of the island. So that's the reason. For us, research, plant disease, and of course, the challenge of how restricted the bringing those kind of plants to the island or to the island may affect the whole agricultural sector of the island.
Agricultural research, plant and animal health is important to farmers all across the country, but the stakes are still much higher here, given the climate and the size of Puerto Rico. One of the first things the resident commissioner said to me as we were walking into the room, she started talking about gearing up for the 2023 Farm Bill. And we will have some additional conversations this week. We have several panels later on tomorrow and Monday about the Farm Bill. But I know Puerto Rico has a very specific interest in the Farm Bill when it comes to nutrition, and it's something that the American Farm Bureau believes in as well. First and foremost, we want to make sure that the nutrition title of the Farm Bill and the production, agriculture, and conservation and crop insurance titles remain unified. But Puerto Rico has a unique challenge with regard to nutrition and access to the nutrition program. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, and it will be, many of you will be asking, what's the difference? Unlike Guam, unlike the U.S. Virgin Islands and the 50 states, Puerto Rico is treated differently in terms of the farm Bill or the Nutritional Assistance Program. Instead of having SNAP program, we just got NAP, which is the Nutritional Assistance Program. The problem with that is that the ones in the states got a provision that whenever there's a disaster that is called by the President of the United States, a national declaration of disaster, automatically every farmer will receive a different amount of resources to manage that disaster. In the case of Puerto Rico, we don't have that. So every time there's a disaster, we're talking about hurricanes, pandemics, we're talking about flooding that can be in many cases, with declaration of emergency by the President of the United States, we are not allowed to receive that compensation to our farmers unless there is a law in Congress approved. So that means, and you know how difficult it is to get something done in Washington and get a bill passed in the House, bill passed in the Senate, and then the President sign it.
Just take a look at the last 3 days.
I didn't say that. So it will take more than 15 times, I will tell you, to get something done. And of course, educating members of Congress, because many of them ask me, why you're not included? If Guam is included, if the Virgin Islands are included, why Puerto Rico is not included? Yet, we are not included. So one of the biggest asks I will have for the Farm Bureau is to help Puerto Rico, to get that amendment and allow farmers in Puerto Rico and the community in Puerto Rico to be included directly in this disaster declaration whenever we do have those situations in terms of the Nutritional Assistance Program. Switching from NAP to SNAP, which is what you got in your state. That will allow us to be having the same benefits. Right now we don't have the same benefits. We just got less than 20% of whatever territory we receive. So we receive 20% less than Virgin Islands, 20% less than Guam, 20% less than the rest of the nation. And we import 90% of the United States food. That's something important. And whenever we are having this discussion, I will tell you a small example of that. When we were hit by Hurricane Maria, Senator Marco Rubio from Florida helped me out to include that disaster nutritional assistance for Puerto Rico. And the way he convinced other members of the Senate was, you know where Puerto Rico is importing the rice, their crops, their cereals? They're coming from different states. They're coming from Kansas. They're coming from every state of the nation. So this is not, we're not buying from China. We're buying from the states, as all states should be doing, right? So in that sense, making this change would allow people of Puerto Rico to have access to food security, and of course, having our farmers get somebody taking care of that.
Well, regretfully, our time is coming to a conclusion. However,
but we need you there.
Yes, absolutely.
For this kind of, I will say the two main asks will be one, switching from NAP to SNAP. And the second one, getting specialty crops included automatically whenever there is a situation. There are many others regarding research and other stuff, but I know that can be included in the bill in the House.
And I'm a policy guy. I'm in charge of the American Farm Bureau lobbying efforts, and I love to talk about policy conversations all day. But we also at American Farm Bureau do a lot when it comes to leadership development. And you mentioned it before, but I just want to recognize that you are the youngest person ever elected Speaker of the House of Puerto Rico, and the first woman elected to Congress from Puerto Rico, and the youngest. So for the young farmers and for the female leaders in this room, what words of insight and guidance and advice would you offer to them?
Never ask for permission. That will be the first one. The second one, I prefer to ask for forgiveness. The third one, if you believe in something, many people will tell you you cannot do it. It's not because they're mean. It's not because they don't want you to succeed. It's because many people are raised that way and got afraid of things. I think if you believe in something, you just focus, have the discipline to get it done. And you know, I studied in public schools in Puerto Rico. My father was a school director. My mother was a teacher. I studied in public school, public university, and I got elected. So if I can, everyone can. So don't allow anybody to tell you you cannot do it. Search for information. Use organizations like the Farm Bureau to access programs that may allow you to succeed in many other areas. And of course, our office is available to everybody here or in the States to coordinate in any way. I'm proud of the work we do, but I'm more proud of the people of Puerto Rico that always supported me to be their voice in Congress.
Well, it has been an honor sharing the stage with you for these last 30 minutes. And on behalf of the American Farm Bureau Federation, thank you for the hospitality. Puerto Rico has been great, and I'm sure will continue to be great. Ladies and gentlemen, the resident commissioner from Puerto Rico, the Honorable Jenniffer González-Colón.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hope you may press your Farm Bureau Association to come back again to Puerto Rico. And whenever you want, if it's January or December, we're happy to receive you.